Player FM, and many more. Check us out on Facebook and Instagram under
The opinions expressed on the preceding sponsored program were strictly those of its hosts, guests, and callers, and not necessarily those of this station, its staff, management, or sponsors.
Talk 1470 is WWNN Pompano Beach and 95.3 FM W237BD Boca Raton, the Health and Wealth Radio Network.
If you've been putting off going to the dentist, now is the time to get the dental work you need. JJ Dental is offering an incredible deal for new patients. A $69 new patient special. It includes a comprehensive exam by the dentist, a full series of x-rays, and a cleaning. Regular value, $305. But for the month of June at JJ Dental, just $69. JJ Dental wants to be your family dentist. Call 954-463-7262. 954-463-7262.
This message is brought to you by the Florida Division of Emergency Management, the Florida Association of Broadcasters, and this radio station.
When severe weather threatens Florida, flooding is a reality we all have to face.
And floods can happen anywhere in the state.
So be prepared when floods impact your community. Know what flood zone you live in so you can determine the risk to your family and your property.
The better you understand the risks of flooding in your community, the safer you can keep your family.
Go to floridadisaster.org and find out what flood zone you live in.
The following message is brought to you by the Florida Division of Emergency Management, the Florida Association of Broadcasters, and this radio station.
This hurricane season, the most important thing you can do for your family and your business is to develop a hurricane preparedness plan. Florida's Division of Emergency Management's website, floridadisaster.org, now has a planning tool that will help you come up with your plan. All it takes is a few minutes to get a plan to better protect your family and your business when a hurricane threatens. Get a plan. Get yours at floridadisaster.org.
Having a place to go after school will make you a better student. Having an outlet to express yourself will make you a better artist. Having something to do together will make you a better family. At the Y, we're helping build better friends, listeners, writers, swimmers, scientists, and musicians, one chance at a time. Give the gift of opportunity. Support the Y at ymca.net. The Y, for a better us.
What you want to know. What you need to know.
Talk 1470. WNN.
Getting out of the military, I was missing this camaraderie.
It's frustrating when you try and talk to people that you don't understand.
I still had the anger, I still had the addictions, but we didn't talk about that.
Came to a point where it's like, okay, I really need to talk to somebody about this.
Family more or less encouraged me, go to the VA.
It's okay to go get help. It's okay to talk to people because it takes true strength to ask for help.
Hear veterans' real stories of strength and recovery at MakeTheConnection.net.
Selfless service is the guiding principle that drives Army National Guard soldiers to be always ready whenever disaster strikes. Every Army National Guard member serves not only to protect the nation, but also their local communities, so they each have a stake in the security and well-being of the neighborhoods where they live and work. They are your next-door neighbors and your colleagues in schools, offices, and factories. Since the early days of our republic, the Army National Guard has continued its timeless commitment to guarantee peace and security for all Americans, a proud legacy which has endured for nearly 4 centuries. To be a Guard soldier is to stand ready to serve at all times for family, for community, and for country. Selfless service. It's what inspires the men and women of the Army National Guard to be part of something greater than themselves. To learn more, log on to NationalGuard.com or contact an Army National Guard recruiter in your area. Sponsored by the Florida Army National Guard. Aired by the Florida Association of Broadcasters and this station.
Have you shared a little sunshine lately? You can share it virtually by tagging your social posts with #LoveFL. Or you can share it in reality by inviting friends and family down for a visit to catch some rays with you. It not only brings smiles to their faces, it helps our state's economy. So invite someone you know to Florida and help our state stay sunny. This message sponsored by Visit Florida, the Florida Association of Broadcasters, and this radio station.
We invite you your family, and friends to join us in feeling empowered to create a community of caring. If you hear or see something online, on social media, school, work, or anywhere that concerns you, say something. All of us at WNN look forward to working together to build a strong community of caring. The opinions expressed in the following sponsored program are strictly those of the host, guests, and callers, and not necessarily those of the station, its staff, management, or sponsors. Welcome to the Golf and Travel Show, the place to fine-tune your swing, dress for the course, club, or cruise, and get tips on the best places to play and stay at the right price. Vacation or staycation, host Dan Schub, along with his expert co-hosts and guests, will tell you where to go. To play golf and vacation, that is. Now, here's Dan.
Welcome to the Golf and Travel Show. I'm your host, Dan Schub, and tonight, like we always do, we are going to be talking some golf, we're going to be talking some travel, and of course, we're going to have a cool guest who's going to be coming up just a little bit later on in the show. An old friend of the show, a golfing buddy of mine, a guy who covers golf as a journalist around the world and has been focusing lately on England. And he's just actually back from Kent, England, and he's played a bunch of courses, I believe 8 different courses in a week or so. And we're going to hear all about it, and that would be my friend, golf journalist Mike May. So you're not going to want to miss that. Also, a little bit later in the show, of course, I'll have some travel news for you. We got a little bit of golf news for you, and we've got some great travel deals for you as well. We're going to send you all over the world, and we're going to do it on a pittance because that's how we roll. So you're not going to want to miss any of it. So without much further ado, why don't we get started on a little bit of golf news, a little bit of stuff from the past week that we need to talk a little bit about, I believe. First of all, of course, local player right from here in Palm Beach County, Brooks Koepka, went back-to-back at the U.S. Open, and that was a great story, of course. The U.S. Open, not only being a major, being our country's championship, it's played in a different golf course virtually every year. They do go back every 7 or 8 years to the better ones, but it makes it different from other tournaments winning back-to-back. And, of course, last year the course was set up a little bit easier, and that's very unusual for the USGA to set up a golf course for the U.S. Open that's easy. So this year out at Shinnecock out on Long Island, which I'll be visiting in about a week and a half or so, not Shinnecock, but Long Island, they did go back to their tradition of setting the golf course up difficult. And the fact that Mr. Koepka was able to repeat was quite remarkable. There's a lot of remarkable things that happened this past week. I was transfixed. I couldn't turn the TV off all weekend. I know I kind of like to encourage everybody to go out there and play, especially this time of year in Florida where the rates are down. But I couldn't stop watching. So another thing that I thought was pretty cool was on Sunday, Tommy Fleetwood shot a 63. That, I believe, tied the record of the best around, I think, in any of the championships, the majors. So Tommy Fleetwood on a very difficult course just played an amazing round. So congratulations to him. Unfortunately, we even forgot about the fact that Tiger Woods, our other resident here, didn't even make the cut. You know, that's a big story before the tournament starts, and then he kind of just disappeared. But the big story was the guy who was trying to complete the career Grand Slam, winning the only major championship he's yet to win, and that would, of course, be Phil Mickelson. And Phil Mickelson decided on Saturday, on his 48th birthday, when the golf course was set up incredibly difficult. Now, keep in mind that when the USGA sets up a golf course, especially a links-style course like Shinnecock, they can only do so much because a lot of it has to do with the elements, kind of like what we'll hear from Mike, although I believe he had good weather, but over on the other side where they play a lot of link-style courses, the weather can be really difficult, and the rains, the wind could have a major effect on the scoring. So what they do is they set up the golf course. Typically, a links course is going to be a little bit more bump and run. It's going to be a harder surface, a harder putting surface. The ball is going to roll here, there, and everywhere. Kind of like when you think about the Masters, where the greens are just so fast that if you miss a putt, the ball, will keep going. But in this particular case, it was so severe on Saturday, and the wind picked up that the golfers were losing their patience a little bit with the USGA. Now, I have to admit that years gone by, I've been a critic of the USGA and some of their policies and some of their course setups. But lately, I've been kind of looking forward to a golf course that challenged the golfers, because the best golfers in the world right now, there probably are more great golfers than ever before at one time. I mean, years gone by, there's always been groups of good golfers, 3 of them, 4 of them, 10 of them. These days, there are so many great golfers out there, and they're getting better, the equipment's getting better, and the golf courses are being beat up, whereby week after week, the winning score might be a 20 under. And I like to see great golfers shoot great scores, and I know the professionals like to put up really low numbers because that impresses their fans and it impresses their sponsors and it impresses themselves, I suppose. But the golfers don't like to be made to look bad. And Phil Mickelson, it seems that he had enough on Saturday, and I'm sure all of you have already heard, but his ball was rolling off the green, and he ran and hit it again before it stopped, which was a clear violation of the rules. After the tournament, he said that he knew exactly what the rules were, and he felt that allowing the ball to roll and where it was going to stop, to have to try and get it to stop on the green again, would have been more severe than the 2-stroke penalty that he was assessed. However, the USGA had the opportunity to actually disqualify him, and they chose not to. He offered to withdraw Saturday night, and they chose not to accept that offer from him, and he went ahead and played. But his excuse just was poor, and it was just so evident and obvious to everybody that he was trying to send a message to the USGA and show them up. And rightfully so, they apologized themselves for the setup being too severe on Saturday, and they softened it up for Sunday. And Sunday turned out to be a great day, especially for Mr. Koepka. But Mr. Mickelson played the same golf course that everybody else did, and if 1 week out of the year it's a little bit tougher, don't play. There are many golfers that choose not to play certain tournaments because it just doesn't suit their game, that particular golf course. And I know this is a major, and I know it's the last one that he needs to win, but he was invited to this party by the USGA. There were over $2 million of prize money that went to the winner of this tournament, not to mention the millions of dollars that gets distributed amongst the rest of the players that made the cut, at least. If it's not right, don't make a scene like that. That is bad sportsmanship, especially for golfers that are supposed to be gentlemanly. The good news is 2 days ago, he did come back out and apologized for his behavior. I'm sure he was worried about his sponsors, what they might think, and he had a little bit more time to think of it. Even his wife said that, maybe what he did was a bit much before he said it. So I wouldn't be surprised if she gave him a good talking to as well. So, it's not the first time that Phil has been controversial. It's not the first time that he's been accused of rules violations. Most recently, I would say, with the insider trading that he almost ended up going to jail for. But he got off the hook on that as well. So great golfer. He does a lot of great things for a lot of people. Sometimes not so good. And this time I just have to call him out on it. And the USGA, again, maybe they went too far, but I kind of enjoyed seeing a tough test. And, heck, it's once a year. Just either don't show up or suck it up, one or the other. The ratings were higher than they've been since Fox took over the broadcast. So it's been several years, since 2015, I guess. These were the best ratings. The quality of their broadcast had been horrible. It's gotten a little bit better. They are slowly improving. They're still not as good as NBC and CBS at the telecast that they do, but it was bearable, at least in the beginning. It was hard to take. And that's all I'm going to say about that. I also want to send condolences to the family of Hall of Fame golfer Hubert Green, who passed away a few days ago. And, that was sad. He won in the U.S. Open, actually, in 1977. He won the PGA Championship in 1985, had 19 career wins on the PGA Tour. Obviously, I'm a little bit older, as you all probably know, so I was watching him when he was in his prime, and he was always a great golfer. So I was really sad to hear that loss. We've got this week the tour. They've got a pretty good field up in Hartford for the Travelers. Also, the Champions Tour. They've got the American Family Insurance Championship going on. And the women, the LPGA, is playing in Arkansas at the Walmart, easy for me to say, Arkansas Championship. So there's plenty of golf to watch. Hopefully the weather will be good this weekend and we can all go out there and play. All right, I think what we're going to do is we're going to take a quick break and a message from our sponsor, and then without much further ado, we're going to be talking to golf writer Mike May about his recent trip to Kent, England, and all the golf that he got in there, so you're not going to want to miss it. Stay tuned. We'll be back with more of the Golf and Travel Show.
I'm not smart enough. My resume's not up to date. They'll never pick someone like me. No one's hiring right now. Sound familiar? Don't let you get in the way of landing your next job opportunity. Sometimes it's best to leave it up to the experts. Did you know that the last reported job openings in the U.S. as of this recording was a series high of 6.7 million jobs, and that 1.1 million of those jobs were left unfilled? This means that there's a potential opportunity that's just right for you. And at Labor Finders, we're committed to helping you find it. Whether you're entering the workforce or looking for supplemental income in a job that starts right away, we got you covered. With over 300,000 clients across the U.S. and 20,000 active daily workers, we have the network and the experience to get you your next job. Contact one of our nearly 200 offices today to see how we can help in your job search. Simply visit us online at www.laborfinders.com or connect with us on social media by searching the username Labor Finders.
And we are back. And as I mentioned, this friend of mine who I occasionally get to play golf with, it's never in the kinds of places that he's going to talk about today, unfortunately. Maybe one day I'll get a chance to travel someplace more exotic and play, but I live vicariously through some of his trips. He explains really well, so if you're looking to take a trip, listen to what Mike has to say. So without further ado, golf writer, golf traveler, golf buddy, Mike May. Hey, Mike, how you doing?
I'm doing well, and I'm still mentally, emotionally still in England and Kent. And a week ago today, I was playing at the London Golf Club, and it was just a tremendous trip that's just got better and better.
And you, from what I understand, you had some decent weather over there as well.
The weather was spectacular. Shorts every day. There were a couple of courses I played with long golf pants because they either wanted you to wear tall socks or trousers, so I just wore golf pants. And the humidity is non-existent over there, so
wow,
it was quite pleasant.
And I need to say that you are a Palm Beach County resident as well, so you're used to the heat and humidity and rain that we've been getting here in Florida this time of year. So I'm sure it was a welcome departure for you to have that dry air.
Oh, it was great. I live out in Wellington, so it was actually the days that I spent in Kent were nice winter days in Boca Raton.
Well, it's a real break for you this time of year to get a taste of wintry weather that we experience in Florida. I wouldn't wish like the Northeast type winter weather on anybody, but a little cool and dry is always nice. So we don't have that much time. You played a lot of golf courses, so without further ado, why don't you give us a little bit of an update of some of the really cool places that you had a chance to play? What makes them so cool? And, of course, the fact that most people probably haven't even heard of these places because everybody all goes to the same places when they go across the pond. You're the guy who finds these other places that people need to go to, right?
Right. I flew into Heathrow Airport, which is the western edge of London, and I went, instead of going north to Scotland, I went actually backtrack to the southeast of London, less than an hour's drive. You find the county of Kent, with its home with the White Cliffs of Dover and the Canterbury Cathedral, and You've seen that Anheuser-Busch commercial where the Earl of Sandwich says, "I named this the Sandwich," and they all go dilly dilly. Mm-hmm. That's in Sandwich. I was in Sandwich, which is in Kent. The highlight of the trip was probably last Tuesday and Wednesday. I had back-to-back 36-hole days. Last Tuesday morning, I played Littlestone Golf Club, which is in a place called Romney Marsh, right there on the banks of the English Channel. It's a British Open qualifier, a true links course, just everything you'd want and then some. And in the afternoon, I played Royal Cinque Ports, Cinque, just up the road in Deal. I'd hosted the Open in 1909 and 1920. And then the next day at 7:55, my buddy Neil and I had a tee time with two caddies at Royal St. George's. It's been the site of 14 Open championships. We'll host the Open in 2020. The day was spectacular, probably the nicest weather day of the year there. And we played 18 holes and then went nearby to in the afternoon to Prince's Golf Club, which hosted the Open in 1932, won by Gene Sarazen. So back-to-back days, 36 holes a day. All four courses have a link to the Open. Three of them actually hosted the Open Championship. And you don't need to go north of Scotland to get that classic links experience. And there's so much history in Kent. I had dinner one night in a pub that was built in 1446. I spent one night in a castle, Hever Castle, which is the home of Anne Boleyn. She was the second wife of Henry VIII.
It didn't work out too well for her, did it?
No, it didn't. She's still well known to this day, but the funny story about Anne Boleyn is that when Henry VIII decided to decapitate her, the more civilized way was to do it with a sword rather than a guillotine, because he still had feelings for her, but she was...
what a guy.
Yeah, such a nice guy. So, but the Hever Castle, I stayed next door at Leeds Castle, which they call the loveliest castle. That's 900 years old. So the food is tremendous. The Garden of England, so many fresh vegetables and fish caught off the coast there.
I was going to ask, Dover sole, I'm assuming, right? It's the home of Dover sole?
I did have sole one night, but it was lemon sole, not Dover sole.
Oh, man.
It was so good. But there's all sorts of vineyards in Kent, quality food, great links golf, great parkland golf. I also played Hever Castle Golf Club. I also played in the northern part of Kent, another Open qualifier called North Foreland. Again, I played 8 rounds in 6 days, so if you're looking for golf overload, go to Kent. And if you're looking for top of the line, then you can get around at Royal St. George's. And you can get on a tee time at Prince's, Littlestone, Royal Cinque Ports. The third green at Royal Cinque Ports seemed like it had 3 elephants buried in the green. I've never seen a green with so many undulations. I actually putted the ball on the green from probably 15 yards off the green because he was so smooth off the green to the putting surface. Why chip it when I can just roll it? So it brings out an element of your game you don't do down here. And the wind is ever present, and you do. The only thing is most courses don't have what they call buggies. We call carts. Mm-hmm. But you can get pull carts, and more of them are, becoming somewhat Americanized or Westernized and having carts. But, when you're on a links course, you want to walk it. You can usually get a caddy if you want, or get a pull cart, or what they call trolley. So it was just a tremendous trip that I knew was going to be great, and it was twice as good as I thought it would be.
Now, you had mentioned that these courses you could get out on. I know some of the more famous courses like St. Andrews, sometimes, you need to either make reservations a long time in advance. You need to have your professional from your club, if you're a member of a club, kind of call and see if they can help you out. Are these courses that difficult, or can you just kind of make a tee time on your own, or just go out there and play?
You can make a tee time on your own. When I played Prince's last Wednesday afternoon, it was wide open, and it wasn't wide open at St. Andrews. So that's why Kent encouraged me to come over, because they are under-publicized, and they're not as well known as they should be. And there was no problem getting a tee time at Royal Cinque Ports or the Prince's. And I'd just been someone who walked in the pro shop, I could have got a tee time. And that's not the case at St. Andrews. And you would have paid far less and had just as good an experience.
That's crazy. Now, what about if, obviously, sometimes we travel with our golfing buddies, but what about if you're traveling with a spouse, perhaps, that doesn't play? What kind of things are in that region that other folks might do who aren't playing golf?
Well, there's 2 world-class cathedrals, Rochester and Canterbury. You must, if you go with your wife, you must stay at Hever Castle. It is one of the finest places you can stay in the world. The gardens are world class. You can get a tour of the castle. The views of out to the English Channel, going for walks along the beach, are tremendous. There's vineyards. The oldest brewery in England is based in Kent.
I was going to ask you about that. I'm not personally a big drinker, but obviously over there they are. So, I mean, some are into the beers, some are into the whiskeys. What did you see there? I mean, are there distilleries to go to as well as breweries?
Yeah, they were very much into a handful of ales and lagers and stuff like that at the brewery. So, but there's history in every town. There's monuments and statues and stories, and there's just no lack of things to. And the views out to the sea are tremendous. I stayed at the Marine Hotel in Whitstable one evening, and looking out at the normally turbulent North Sea, and it was calm as a mill pond. And again, I had a dinner at a pub one night, the George and Dragon and Sandwich, built in 1446. So again, the brewery was the Shepherd and Neame Brewery and Faversham. Both men and women are on the tour. Every city, every little town's got its own history. It's just neat walking through what they call the high street, the normal main street through town, and the little shops and stores that sell anything and everything. They're still a locally driven shop, store-oriented society. They're not into the big malls like we are.
Mm-hmm. So now, what about the people? My daughter recently was throughout Europe, and like many people say, she spent some time in Paris, where, of course, the Ryder Cup is going to be, and she complained, like many of us Americans do, that the people in France are not all that friendly and receptive. How were they in Kent? Were the people friendly there?
Very welcoming. I often got lost, and so I would pull over and say, hey, I'm trying to get from here to there. And one thing I didn't get on my rent-a-car was the satellite navigation. They call it sat-nav. I should have picked up the sat-nav because my phone sometimes went in and out on the GPS. But,
well, the problem is they're always driving on the wrong side of the road there.
Well, yes, they do drive on the left side, and I used to live in England, so I learned how to drive over there, and I was shifting with my left hand and driving on the left side of the road. I was getting so used to it. I came back to the U.S. last week, a few days ago, and started driving on the left side of the road. It's like,
no.
An accident.
Not good. But, well, I think this relaxing vacation of yours probably wasn't very relaxing. It sounds like you really crammed a lot in.
I did, and I had a GoPro camera that my daughter Emily taught me how to use, so I've come back with good still footage and video footage that I'll be posting to my website soon, MikeMayMarketing.com. But again, this time last year, I went over to play golf in the southwest of England through the Atlantic Links in Somerset, Devon, and Cornwall. This year I went to Kent, which is if you actually fly into Gatwick, which is a southern part of London, it's even quicker to get to Kent. So there's no long commute from the airport to Kent, and once you get there, you feel as if you're hundreds of miles away from the big city. Lots of quaint little villages that have their own stories to tell, and great shopping, great food, and the weather was and it's actually sort of the Florida of England. The weather there is going to be nicer there than anywhere else, and I was wearing shorts and short sleeve shirts every day with a hat and lotion, and there was no issues with cool temperatures.
Now, if they were to hear you say that that's the Florida of England, would they appreciate that, or would they be, like, appalled?
I think they would take that as a compliment, because they know that they're not as warm as we are, but they're as warm as you can get.
Now, I was going to say that there is so much that you have to say, and we don't have that much time, so even the things that you spoke about, and there's probably a lot more detail that you could have gone into, but if folks will go to Mike May, was it MikeMayMarketing.com?
MikeMayMarketing.com.
They can get more information.
There's also a website, Golf in Kent, so GOLFIN Kent, Kent, golfinkent.co.uk. A lot of email addresses in the UK or websites end with .co.uk. So golfinkent.co.uk, and you'll find all the great places to go. And I stayed in Hever Castle. I stayed next door to Leeds Castle. Leeds Castle Golf Club, 9-hole course. 3 of the holes had the backdrop, which is Leeds Castle. I stood in the fifth tee looking down at the green below, and a nice little par 4, and there's this massive castle. I'm thinking, like, this has got to be the most exciting backdrop of any hole in the United Kingdom to have a castle with this massive moat right there. It's like, oh my word, this is not Disney World. This is not make-believe. This is the real deal.
Well, I think if you continue to publicize these lesser-known places, pretty soon you're going